Greetings, friends. Form Stoic, back with another video. Something a little bit different for you today, and I think this one could probably be quick. Just a little PSA from Spider-Man. Really quick, something I noticed about this hat. Just now, I looked inside of it. You see what it says in there? Funko! Funko! I guess it's like made by Funko Pops or something. I got married to a Funko Pop. Whoa. It's Jay Dyer's hit single, if y'all don't remember that one. Alright, let's get down to it. Let's stop screwing around. So, I had some insights about gratitude. And I think this is a topic where people will kind of roll their eyes and they don't want to hear it. Especially in these hard times we're living in. A lot of guys are high and dry. I think about that situation with Dustin Poirier at the airport, losing it. And I was just saying on stream today, I feel like that's just kind of symbolic for the energy right now. Like, a lot of guys are just feeling dejected. A lot of people are in a gray area, and they're just not where they want to be. And they've not been where they want to be for a very long time. I know that on some level I feel that way. But then I try to remember gratitude. And the lesson is going to be in the title of the video, that gratitude is the same as admitting that you got lucky. And that's a little bit of a kind of a thing. And there might be some people out there that want to fight it, but I don't think that that is a stretch at all. And trying to keep this video positive, trying not to take shots at, I don't know, the baby boomer generation, which I can pretty much find an excuse to do in any video I make, but I do feel like when you're talking about, I earned it, I earned everything I have, I worked for everything I have. It's a sentiment you hear a lot from the baby boomer generation. And when you say that, it's the opposite of admitting that you got lucky. And admitting that you got lucky is gratitude. And you can really see it embodied in the phrase, "The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away." Maybe you're not a God person. Lately I'm getting into Taoism, spelt Taoism, pronounced Taoism. That's kind of a thing with me. Pronunciations just sometimes drive me a little bit cuckoo. But I just see God, when I refer to God, I think of a kind of force. I watched a lecture from a Taoist last night, and he was basically saying that, we're all God and going with the pantheist thing. But I think there was kind of a disconnect with him where it's like, the Tao, the way, the energy that everything comes from, the inherent source of all that contains some sort of a wisdom, what have you. That's basically what I would consider God. So I would say that, like, the Tao is God. Anyway, the point of the video isn't to discuss what God is. It's just that, admitting that you got lucky is the same as gratitude. The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. And whatever situation you're trying to appeal to is like, man, I came from nothing. I came from the hood. I came from hard times. And I clawed and I scratched and I built myself up. You're lucky you didn't get shot. You're lucky you didn't get robbed. You're lucky you didn't get the tar beaten out of you and become crippled and not able to do the things that you were doing. You're lucky. I would go as far as to say that every single person who made it got lucky. And I've been saying that for a while. And sometimes I think people on my channel kind of just go with it. It's like, oh yeah, that's Reformed Stoic. He kind of just says what he feels, even if it's not completely based in logic. He just kind of aggressively puts it out there, and it is what it is, even if it's not what it is. Well, I'm here to tell you, my friends, that it is, in fact, what it is. I believe everyone who has anything good in their life got lucky. Now, did they just get lucky, or did they show up, put in some work, and also get lucky? Despite what some out there might try to say, I did show up in my life, and I did put in some work. Nobody can take that away from me. I just didn't get lucky. There's times in my life when I could have gotten lucky and things could have fallen together for me, but they didn't. And there's times in other people's lives when they could have been unlucky and they could have ended up in a situation very similar to me. I don't think this is like chud, ranting, spurging. This video, I intend to put forward some powerful reasoning to insist that this is the way that things are. And I haven't given up, and I'm going to keep going. But what I can tell you about me is that if I ever make it, if I ever get where I want to be, and, you know, I get the wife and the family and the money and the success and the creative career, I will never lecture people about how I worked for all of it. I did use my mind throughout hard times. I did apply myself in various ways, and I'm sure I will have to apply myself even more than I already am if I'm ever going to get anywhere good. But if I ever get somewhere, I promise you, I will attribute it to good luck. I was unlucky, and then my luck changed. You see, there's all these little folk sayings that are just hidden in plain sight. It's all right in front of you. You know what, Rock? I think your luck has finally changed. He was unlucky, and then he was lucky. It's not going to be like my hard work finally paid off. And, you know, that will be a part of it. But you could call it luck. You could call it God. You could call it the way of the forces of nature, of the Tao. And it's a respect. Gratitude is a respect for this chaos. An atheist just says there's no meaning to any of it. There's no patterns. There's no synchronicities. It's just dumb luck. Complete chaos. And what I like, something that somebody pointed out about Harvey Dent. I'm always kind of bringing up Batman, Star Wars, and just, you know, little pieces of fiction, Lord of the Rings, that I find over the years really resonate with me. Harvey Dent in Christopher Nolan Batman speaks on pure chance. That the only morality... I wish I remembered the exact quote. This is probably one that I'm going to want to remember as time goes on. But he says something to the tune of the only morality in this world is chance. It's when he's explaining why he loves his coin. And actually, I've always found that the Val Kilmer Batman with Jim Carrey as the Riddler, I grew up on that one. You find a lot of people saying that one was cheesy. That was like the first bad one. I have it on DVD. I've always liked it because I grew up with it. The scene where Jim Carrey's becoming the Riddler and it plays that song, you're sorta stuck where you are, but in your dreams you can buy expensive cars. The Flaming Lips. That's like one of the most nostalgic scenes of like any movie for me. But yeah, in that one, Tommy Lee Jones plays Two-Face, and he also speaks something about chance, about pure chance, how it's just fair. And that's more to it. That's his reasoning. It's fair because it's random, and life is random. So even if you're an atheist, even if you think that there's no guiding force to anything, you can think about Harvey Dent, whichever Batman movie he's coming from, and how there's a kind of fairness to chance. When the chance plays in your favor, your time finally came. Maybe there's something behind it, maybe there's not. Obviously, the way I am, whatever kind of spirituality I float toward, I had a dream that I was a crane. And I was looking for a fish, and then the fish became a dragon. That was from Grandma's Boy. Something like that in Grandma's Boy. Anyway, whatever kind of spirituality I drift towards, I think that there's just something. I think that there's a meaning behind it, and I will tell you that when you are struggling in your life and you're trying to maintain hope, hope is very important, my friends. Hope is very important in terms of continuing to move forward. I mentioned Lord of the Rings, very powerful scene in The Return of the King when they lie, when they get to like the final battle, and these like emissaries of, when they're getting to Sauron, they say that Frodo was tortured to death. And they're trying to say that to demoralize them and make them think that there's no hope. And then that's when the king looks at the warriors and says, "For Frodo." And it's just, they're trying to hold on to that hope, even when it seems like things are hopeless. But basically, they're trying to demoralize them by saying that there's no hope. Hope is important, and it's not going to help you to think that nothing happens for a reason. But you can believe what you want. I think things happen for a reason. And we've been doing this for 12 minutes. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to wrap this up pretty quick, guys. But I do think that there's an important truth to this. And when someone says that they didn't get lucky and it all came from hard work and they earned everything they ever had, there is a lack of gratitude and a presence of pride. You could almost see a kind of dichotomy. I think it makes a lot of sense, when Christians are talking about the importance of gratitude, and that pride is the worst of the sins because pride comes before the fall, is what they say. So, pride being the greatest sin, and gratitude being one of the most important things that you can have in your life. Even when things are hard, that's the hardest part about gratitude. Nobody wants to be lectured about how they should be grateful when things are not working out in their life the way that they could have. Just like I could tell you about how the millionaire who came from the streets, it's like, oh yeah, he clawed his way up here and everything he got. You could have been robbed in the streets. You could have been beaten to death. You could have ended up in jail because you were stealing. You could have had bad luck that kept you from getting where you got. Therefore, you were lucky. You, in your worst moments, could have been even more unlucky, and you could have ended up dead or in jail or crippled. I certainly know that I could have. There's things that happened in my life that I look back on as very unfortunate times. They could have been worse. They could have been crippling. They could have been debilitating. I'm still here, and I'm grateful for that. I was talking about today, it's kind of crazy how when things got rough for me, yeah, I wasn't playing drums for 2 hours every day. But it's interesting how I kind of just put my nose to the grindstone, get back in it, and I kind of just feel like I'm still right there. I kind of just feel like, nah, man, I'm in the prime of my drumming. I kept getting better. And I'm not going to tell you it came from non-stop hard work. I think there's a little bit of favor in there from God. I think it's a little bit of a gift. You know, you could explain it like, oh, well, I got the muscle memory. I put in the hard work on the chops 10 years ago and I'm awakening the muscle memory. But I don't think that doesn't do anything for me. For me, it's like, it is kind of lucky that I just kind of feel like I still got it, even though I've been through some hard times. I think that I'm blessed that I look pretty good at 35. I think I look pretty good at 35. I am very confident that I'm in my prime right now. I'm a little bit beat up. I'm dealing with some lower back discomfort right now, but it doesn't change shit. Doesn't change shit. If I wanted to, I could keep doing back squats. I just think it's kind of stupid. I've actually gotten to a point in lifting, I think the big three, bench press, deadlifts, and back squats, are all overrated. If you want to be a power lifter and set world records on those lifts, then it's not overrated. There's all kinds of ways you can train your legs. There's all kind of functional ways you can train your legs. Dumbbell lunges, super duper functional. Bulgarian split squats, amazing. My legs maybe are a little bit asymmetrical, which is very common. I've always kind of been obsessed with symmetry. Training one leg at a time from Bulgarian split squats, it's great. People who feel like they're asymmetrical at all should be doing that. I do RDLs instead of like regular deadlifts. I've still been doing bench press lately, but I think it's just about on the chopping block, you know, because I know a lot of guys who had big bench presses who hurt their shoulders. And it's just to a point where it's like, bro, people act like you've like been traumatized or something, or there was a death in the family when you can't squat or deadlift or bench anymore. No, dude, you can still keep making gains. In fact, probably the main thing that you're going to get out of abandoning one of those is your chance of getting injured has gone way down. All of these things, dude, like these machines with the plates for the incline press and, you know, like the rowing machines for your back, all the different squat variation replacements. I mean, dude. So anyway, that's just a little side tangent. And that tangent was coming off of like, yeah, my back's a little beat up. I had to deal with some shit here. It still kind of clicks. It doesn't matter. With all of that clicking and shit, you know, you could teleport the 25-year-old version of me right over there, and I would kick the fucking shit out of him. I would kick the dog shit out of the 25-year-old version of myself, bro. So I am in my prime. I'm lucky. I could have looked like shit right now. I could have lost some of my ability on drums. I could have stopped progressing. I kept fucking going, and I'm grateful for it. I have gratitude. I'm to a place spiritually on my stream where I invite people. You know, sometimes when you're like the way I was a few years ago, and you're kind of like that Jay Dyer wannabe, who's like, I'll debate anybody about Christianity and, you know, why the Bible's so important. And there's a lot of people here kind of getting the idea that I'm not a Christian anymore. And sometimes I even say I'm not a Christian. I even made a video once why I'm not a Christian anymore. It's kind of just like, what's the word? Syntax. It's just like, you know, terminology. I use this word all the time, dude. I'm just brain farting on it. Semantics. It's just semantics, whether or not I am or am not. But I'm to a point where I've put the defenses down, and whatever you believe, you know, never really been a fan of atheists, just going to be honest, but you're welcome here. Various kinds of pagans and occultists and people who are anti-cosmic Satanists and the temple of the ascending flame and all that stuff, man. Anybody can come here and discuss their philosophy, and I probably know a little bit about it, and I'd probably be intrigued to learn more about it. I was just reading Liber Azerate because I was listening to Dissection. I love Dissection, dude. Dissection makes amazing music, regardless of the ideology or beliefs of the guy. Rip, by the way, from that band. But, yeah, I was just recently reading that, and yeah, I'm at a point where I'm kind of open-minded, and I'm willing to hear people out more instead of just jumping down your throat, trying to beat people in debates. But this video, I think, is taking something in gratitude that people say, oh, that's Christian weakness, and it's holding you back, and it was designed to make you weak, to be dominated. No, I think I've presented a very strong case for why gratitude is actually very important, rational, logical, and some of these things that I say that sound kind of quippy and bratty, like nothing is earned, everybody's lucky, everybody who has good things, they just got lucky. Everybody who's got shit things, I do think a lot of people who have shit lives did fuck up their lives. And I do think a lot of people who have good things did work very hard and do have some skills that other people don't. But there is an element of luck. People in bad places a lot of times got unlucky. People in good places a lot of times got lucky. And it's okay to be lucky. But this is something that I feel like I see as a flaw in the church. One of the things I noticed, trying out some churches, there's a lot of very fortunate, blessed people in these churches. And sometimes I felt like I was losing a popularity contest. A lot of times I felt like I was being harshly judged. Then you can take another look at Jesus saying, judge lest not ye be judged. Well, I think a big part of that is that sometimes you don't realize how lucky you are. Sometimes you don't realize that the person you're talking to has been shit on. And you're just making all these assumptions. You have your pride and like, well, I'm here because I deserve it, and he's there because he doesn't deserve it. He deserves to be where he is, and I deserve to be where I am. You don't want to admit that you just got a good dice roll, bro. Very relevant for this kind of like hypergamy dating stuff. When these guys want to gaslight dudes doing shit with women, like, well, I went out and I did this, I did that. Yeah, bro, you were born 6'4" and you look good. Get the fuck over yourself. Very common. Very common. I do want to try to distance myself a little bit. I don't want people to watch my videos and think I'm a raging incel, but I will say, and I've met these people personally, a lot of good-looking 6'4" guys think they're so fucking wise about relationships. They think they know so much better. They think that that's why they did better with women than me, because they just have so much knowledge, so much riz. Buddy, you got a good fucking dice roll. And it's okay to get a dice roll. Have fun. Enjoy it. Be grateful. Have gratitude. And people down in the fucking dumps, it could be a lot worse, man. It happens to me all the time. I see it as a synchronicity. I'm feeling sorry for myself. Shit's not going great. I'm not having a great day, and I'm at the grocery store, and what happens? Somebody wheels by one of our little buddies in a wheelchair, and they're kind of, and I'm not trying to be an asshole. It's just, it happens a lot. I'm not feeling great. They wheel by one of our little buddies, and I just think, you know what? Like, it can get worse. I mean, those people who have those kind of kids sometimes, it's, and this is a big topic about, like, if you can see, this is something that was recently debated heavily, if you can use modern technology to predict whether or not your child is going to have a deformity like that, should you even have them? I will just say that maybe I don't feel especially strong one way or another, but I'm not going to jump down people's throats who say that you should just cancel it, And I get it, and I get the other side of the argument, but hey, sometimes it's Chad's and Stacy's having those kids, and then they keep them, and then they got to deal with that. And I know a lot of that sounds selfish and judgmental, but it's a reality of life. I'm feeling some type of way. They wheel by one of our little buddies. I'm like, hey, you know what? It could have been a lot worse. Maybe I don't have the longest arms or the longest legs. I'll tell you what, girls, my dick is a pretty decent size. Oh, woo! It is. It is. It's not bad. It's not bad. When I get to the bedroom, usually not any complaints. I have trouble getting there. I have trouble getting it there. But I just figured I'd throw that out there. Just figured I'd throw that out there. Did I completely lose my train of thought with that? It could be worse, guys. And I think one of the hardest things that you could do, whether or not you're a pagan or an atheist or whatever you are, Temple of the Ascending Flame, anti-cosmic, we need to destroy everything that exists so we can go back to chaos. Here's just destroy stuff for chaos. Like, whatever it is, dude. Whatever it is, one of the hardest things that's worthwhile that you could do is admit that it could be worse and that you're blessed that it's not worse. Accept some sort of justice. There is some sort of justice out there. I'm really liking the way, the Tao. It's very simple. What I said on stream today is when you're like in your slopper cog routine and you're like scrolling X and your TV's going and you're doing multiple things at the same time and you try to put a Taoist video on in the background and you're like reading conversations on X and doom scrolling, you're going to be like, I don't know, man. I feel like I'm not getting anything out of this. This is overrated. The very wisdom of Taoism, Lao Tzu, Confucius, Shang Tzu is to go outside and touch grass. Literally. Is to like do breathing exercises, turn off all the clutter, go into the woods, go into the mountains, empty yourself of all thoughts, empty yourself of everything, which, by the way, is a Meister Eckhart quote. Meister Eckhart is, like, for me, the pinnacle of Christian mysticism, and he's basically a Taoist, whether or not he would admit it. I feel like he had really hot takes in Christian mysticism. His hot takes are very common in Taoism. Just empty yourself of all things, big emphasis on meditation. There's a lot of different kinds of meditation, like, oh, I can imagine a black orb. I can imagine that I'm walking into the primordial chaos. That's going to sound really interesting to you when you're doom scrolling X and you're drinking a 2-liter of Coke and you're like living the slopper cog life. Taoism is just very straightforward. Meditation is just meditation. Sit there and empty your mind. Maybe you can try some of the fancy visualization stuff down the line, but that's very stimulating and interesting, and it's going to aggrandize you and make you think, I have the dark power, and I'm the only one who knows about this meditation, and it kind of defeats the point. The point is just like, wow, I'm sitting here, cross-legged, silent, my mind wants to doom scroll, my mind wants a lot of things, but I'm just kind of sitting here doing a regular-ass, old-school, boring meditation. That's the point! The point is to just let that break you. In this book that I'm reading, Opening the Dragon Gate, the first thing they do is they lock him in a room for like 4 hours a day, then 8 hours a day. Then once he passes that, then he has to meditate in that room. Then they put him in like a tiny box and then elevate it, and there's spikes in the box. He has to learn to just balance, and very just like simple, mundane. The theme seems to be being okay with just being empty-headed and doing nothing. Breathing exercises, really meat and potatoes, man. And it just shows you that like the truth is right in front of you. You want to find some really strange esoteric manual that just says something so phenomenal. It's like a fiction novel. That's the stuff that really gets your dopamine going. It's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do the dark void lion dragon meditation of the Citra Akra and all the sigils, and oh my gosh, dude, I'm so excited to do this. It's like, yeah, bro, it's more slop. The real practice, at least the real practice to start with, is just kind of boring, sitting there, no eating, no thinking. Do it in nature. do it somewhere beautiful. That's what's going to help you just put your ego in check. You might not fully dissolve the ego, but the part of you that's like, man, I've taken a fucking beating in this life is your ego. And when you spend lots of time in stillness and emptiness, and man, a lot of fucking trains are going by. When you spend a lot of time in emptiness, you can start to just be. For anybody who doesn't understand the point of trying to put the ego aside, when you just be, you're just witnessing, feeling, you're just here. You're just consciousness. And the story of what you personally have gone through starts to kind of fade into the background. It's like, I'm alive. I get to witness. I get to enjoy the simple things. And it's pretty much that, man. And then you can be grateful for that and have gratitude for where you are. And when you learn to have gratitude for exactly where you are in life, once the really good, amazing things happen in your life, if it ever happens, no guarantee, but if it ever happens, it will truly feel like, wow, I got lucky. I am blessed. Something came through for me. I had made peace with the fact that I was going to be living a miserable chud existence, possibly forever, and you will feel overwhelming gratitude when good things happen. You will really be like, wow, this is not my doing. You showed up, you worked hard, but I feel like the real ones, wherever you get in life, when you get interviewed, you say, it came from God. It came from something else. I got lucky. I am very blessed. So it really kind of just ties a lot of different things together. And when I'm having some of my spurgathons talking about things aren't earned, there is a reality to it. There is a reality to it. Try to accept where you are right now, because one of these days, guys, you might get a good dice roll. And what you don't want to do when that happens is preach to everybody and talk down to everybody about how they're not working hard enough. Because there's still going to be a lot more dice rolls in your life, and the next bad one could be right around the corner. So, be grateful, my friends. Gratitude. God bless you. It is time for me to do the crane pose and fly back into the serenity of the Tao. God bless. Peace out.